A driver outside Birmingham buys a 4-year-old Volkswagen Golf in 2022. Full dealer service history, clean MOT, 54,000 miles on the clock. He pays £14,500 for it. He thinks he has done everything right. By 68,000 miles, the gearbox is hesitating on cold mornings. By 71,000 miles, the engine management light is permanent. By 74,000 miles, the mechanic is reading him a list. Every single fault on that car was caused by something he did routinely, without malice, without knowing the cost. Things millions of British drivers do every single week. That car did not fail because it was badly made. It failed because nobody told him the truth about how to maintain a car in British conditions. That is not bad luck. That is a gap in information. And today we're closing it. Before we dive in, comment where you are watching from and click subscribe. Here is the first thing you need to understand. Owning a car in Britain is not the same mechanical proposition as owning one in Germany, France or Spain. The conditions are different, and the driving patterns are different. And those differences mean standard manufacturer advice, the service intervals, the fluid schedules, the maintenance recommendations, was not written with your situation in mind. The roads. The UK has some of the most heavily salted road surfaces in Western Europe. Between October and April, councils spread salt across the network to prevent ice. That salt gets flung into every unsealed cavity of your vehicle, your sills, your subframe, your brake lines, your exhaust mountings. According to RAC data, UK drivers are now 1.7 times more likely to suffer a breakdown from vehicle deterioration than in 2006. Potholes alone cost British motorists an estimated £1.7 billion in repairs in 2024. AA attended 643,000 pothole-related incidents that year. That is 1,700 drivers every single day pulling over because a road surface ate their car, the driving pattern. The average British commute is under 10 miles each way. In urban areas, that journey takes 20 to 45 minutes in traffic, which means most British drivers are doing precisely the worst thing you can do to a modern engine. Short stop-start journeys where the engine never reaches proper operating temperature. The service cost trap. A full service at a franchised UK dealer costs between £250 and £450. British drivers stretch their intervals. They delay the jobs that feel optional. They prioritise the MOT certificate over the maintenance work that does not produce one. The warning light problem. An AA survey of over 12,500 British drivers found only 3 in 10 would stop immediately if the red oil pressure warning light appeared. 1 in 3 would continue driving to find somewhere safe first. 1 in 4 would wait until the light came on before looking up what it meant. These are not careless people. These are people who were never given the right information. Before the list, I want to be transparent about how this was built. Most car maintenance content online summarizes manufacturer recommendations without questioning who those recommendations were written for. This is built on 4 things. First, long-term breakdown data from the RAC, the AA, and Admiral Insurance, all UK specific, tracking real faults across the full ownership period. Second, real-world input from independent UK mechanics working on these cars after the warranty has expired. They see what actually fails, at what mileage and why. Third, DVSA MOT data. Annual statistics on the most common failure points across the entire UK fleet. Almost nobody reads it. We did. Fourth, reliability data from Which, an Auto Express tracking real-world faults from British drivers in British conditions. No manufacturer commissioned this list. After you have watched it, you will understand why. To understand why these 7 habits are so destructive, you need to understand what changed. In the 1970s and the 1980s, British car culture was built around mechanical engagement. Drivers knew what oil their car took. Many changed their own brake pads. The local garage was independent and personally accountable. Then 2 things happened simultaneously, and they changed everything. First, cars became computers. A modern family car contains between 30 and 100 electronic control units. The engine management system processes millions of sensor inputs per minute. This change moved maintenance beyond the reach of the average driver. The result is a generation of British drivers who stopped opening the bonnet, who learned to wait for the dashboard to tell them something was wrong, and the dashboard was never designed to tell them early enough. Second, the independent garage collapsed. Across the UK, independent garages have been closing at roughly 1,600 per year for the last decade, replaced by the national chains and franchise dealer networks optimized for volume and manufacturer-approved checklists. The things the checklist does not flag. The things experienced mechanics catch by feel and smell and sound go uninspected. They accumulate. 7 habits, all of them common, all of them preventable. Habit 1. Stretching the oil change interval. Let me say something fair about modern synthetic engine oil. It is extraordinary chemistry. It lubricates under extreme pressure, manages heat, and neutralizes the acids combustion produces. The problem is not the oil. The problem is the interval. Many cars on UK roads, particularly VAG group cars, BMW cars, and Mercedes, are factory configured with oil change intervals of 12,000 to 18,000 miles. These intervals were not set by engineers whose priority was engine longevity past 150,000 miles. They were set to minimize stated running costs on the brochure at point of sale. By 10,000 miles in typical British stop-start driving, the additive package that neutralizes combustion acids is largely depleted. The viscosity improvers are breaking down. When an engine never fully reaches operating temperature, fuel dilutes the oil in the sump. Cold starts deposit carbon on the intake valves that heat would normally burn off. Every independent mechanic I spoke to said the same thing. Change your oil every 5,000 to 7,000 miles, regardless of what the service indicator says, or every 12 months, whichever comes first. The cost difference between changing at 6,000 miles versus 15,000 miles is approximately £80 per year. The cost of sludge-related engine wear that builds over a decade of stretched intervals can reach £3,000 to £8,000. The cheap service schedule is the most expensive service schedule you can run. That is not an opinion. That is arithmetic. Habit 2. Ignoring the cambelt until it snaps. This is the most expensive habit on this list, and the most preventable. The manufacturer's cambelt schedule, typically between 60,000 and 100,000 miles or 5 to 10 years, is a genuine engineering calculation. The problem is that timing belts fail without warning. No squeak, no vibration, no amber light. The belt functions perfectly until the moment it does not. In an interference engine, the vast majority of petrol and diesel cars sold in the UK in the last 20 years, when the cambelt snaps the valves open at the wrong moment and the pistons collide with them. The engine destroys itself from the inside in under 1 second. The repair cost is between £2,000 and £4,000. On many cars, that figure exceeds the vehicle's value. A write-off, not from an accident, from a rubber belt that cost £300 to £700 to replace and was not replaced. In British conditions, 2 things accelerate cambelt degradation specifically. Age is one, because rubber degrades through temperature cycling even when the car is not moving. A 10-year-old belt with low mileage is as vulnerable as a high-mileage belt at 7 years. Oil contamination is the other. A slow cam cover gasket leak, the kind British drivers routinely choose to monitor rather than fix, can saturate the belt and dramatically shorten its life. The rule: change the cambelt at the manufacturer's mileage interval, or at 7 years, whichever comes first. Change the water pump at the same time. The water pump runs off the same belt and the labour is already paid for. The pump costs £60 to £120. Not changing it and having it fail 6 months later means paying the full labour cost twice. If you do not know when your cambelt was last changed, finding out is the most important thing you can do this week. Habit 3. Owning a diesel and only doing short journeys. Britain has one of the highest concentrations of diesel cars in Western Europe and one of the most congested urban road networks on the continent. The combination was always going to be costly. Nobody explained why until the repair bills arrived. Every diesel car built since approximately 2009 is fitted with a diesel particulate filter, DPF. The DPF captures soot from diesel combustion. To clear that soot, the filter needs to reach very high temperatures, which only happens during sustained driving at speed. This is called regeneration. The RAC states it directly. Passive regeneration requires a sustained motorway or A road run of roughly 30 to 50 continuous minutes. If the car primarily does short urban journeys, the DPF never regenerates. The soot accumulates, the filter blocks, A forced clean costs approximately £100. A replacement DPF costs between £1,000 and £2,000. There is a second problem almost nobody mentions. When a diesel attempts active regeneration on a short journey that ends before regeneration completes, the extra fuel injected drains down the cylinder walls and into the sump. The oil becomes contaminated with diesel. Diesel diluted oil does not lubricate. In extreme cases, the engine can destroy itself on its own contaminated oil. If you own a diesel and primarily do urban short journeys, you need one sustained run every week, 30 to 40 minutes at speeds above 40 miles per hour, uninterrupted. It costs nothing. Habit 4. Hitting potholes and doing nothing afterwards. British potholes are genuinely unavoidable. Admiral Insurance data shows pothole-related claims rose 62% in the 2 years to 2024. The AA attended 643,000 incidents in 2024 alone. It is real, worsening, and not the driver's fault. The fault is what British drivers do after hitting them, which is usually nothing. A significant pothole impact delivers an instantaneous shock load to the tyre, wheel bearing, and suspension components. RAC data shows it can cost up to £460 in repairs for anything beyond a puncture, bent alloys, damaged shock absorbers, or misaligned geometry. When suspension geometry shifts even slightly, the tyre no longer sits on the road as designed. The inner or outer tread edge bears load it was not built for. It wears faster. The effective tyre life halves. The abnormal loading then transfers to wheel bearings, ball joints, and track rod ends, components that cost between £150 and £400 per corner. A wheel alignment check costs £30 to £60. After any impact that produced a noticeable thud or a pull to one side, get it checked within 2 weeks. Habit 5. Riding the clutch in traffic. Approximately 60% of new cars sold in the UK carry a manual gearbox, one of the highest proportions in the developed world. British drivers have developed a specific habit that mechanics describe as one of the most consistent causes of premature drivetrain failure they see. Clutch riding, holding the pedal at the friction point to control speed in slow cues instead of stopping fully, selecting neutral, and releasing completely. The clutch plate itself costs £400 to £700 to replace. Annoying. Manageable. The dual mass flywheel is not manageable. Fitted to virtually every diesel and many petrol cars sold since 2005, it contains a spring pack that absorbs drivetrain vibration. Sustained heat from clutch riding destroys that spring mechanism. Replacement cost is £800 to £1,500. The correct technique for slow traffic is this: stop fully, select neutral, and release the clutch pedal completely. The clutch bearing lasts significantly longer fully released than when held at partial engagement, especially for 20 minutes on the A406. This is the habit drivers are least willing to change because it feels like skill. It is not skill. It is 4 figures of wear. Drop a comment right now. What is the highest mileage you have ever got out of a car and what eventually finished it? My guess is a significant number of you will mention something that happened not long after the warranty expired. I am also going to guess a lot of you will say the gearbox or the electrics. That is not a coincidence. That is not bad luck. That is engineering. Subscribe if you have not already. 2 habits left. Habit 6. Running on low tyre pressure without knowing it. TyreSafe UK data shows approximately 57% of cars on British roads are running on at least one tyre below the correct pressure right now, more than half. Tyre pressure drops naturally, around 1 pound per square inch for every 10 degrees Celsius of temperature drop. A driver who corrects pressures in September and does not check again until March has been running underinflated through the entire winter. The cost is not primarily in the tyres. When a tyre runs consistently underinflated, the contact patch distorts, the sidewall flexes excessively, the steering geometry shifts under load. That altered geometry attacks the outer tread edge and halves the tyre's effective life. More importantly, it puts abnormal load on wheel bearings and ball joints, components that are cost between £150 and £400 per corner to replace. Checking tyre pressures takes 6 minutes and costs nothing. Do it monthly between October and March. The components behind the tyres are worth far more than the tyres themselves. Habit 7. Treating dashboard warning lights as advisory. This connects every other habit on this list. 1 in 3 British drivers would not stop immediately for a red oil pressure warning light. Most cannot correctly identify the 30 most common dashboard warning symbols. The AA attended over 17,000 vehicles in a single year where the driver cited a warning light as the reason, and 9 out of 10 were simply driven away after explanation. The engine management light, the amber symbol that looks like a small engine, is the one British drivers are most likely to treat as advisory and continue driving. A misfiring engine with a flashing management light is actively causing damage to the catalytic converter with every revolution. The cost to replace the catalytic converter is £500 to £1,200. A blocked diesel particulate filter from the same ignored light will cost £1,000 to £2,000 on top. The rule: a steady amber management light means get it diagnosed this week. A flashing amber means stop as soon as it is safe to do so, and do not restart until you have spoken to a mechanic. A red oil pressure light means stop immediately and turn the engine off. The AA states it directly. A matter of seconds is the difference between an oil top-up and replacing the engine. The dashboard is not a maintenance system. It is an emergency notification system. By the time it activates, something has already gone wrong. Write these down somewhere. Rule 1, the 7-year rubber rule. Cambelts 7 years or the manufacturer mileage interval, whichever comes first. Coolant every 5 years. Brake fluid every 2 years. Tyres 10 years maximum from the manufacture date on the sidewall, regardless of tread depth. Most British drivers replace rubber by mileage alone. That is not enough. Rule 2. Know your 4 lights. Before you drive again, look up these 4 symbols in your handbook: oil pressure warning, coolant temperature warning, engine management light. And if you drive a diesel, the diesel particulate filter warning. Learning them costs nothing. Confusing them at the roadside can cost thousands. Rule 3, the monthly bonnet check. On the 1st of every month, open the bonnet. Check 5 things: oil level and colour, coolant level and colour, brake fluid level, power steering fluid level, and scan for oil or coolant leaks on the engine surfaces. 3 minutes. A small oil leak caught here costs £80 to fix. Left alone until it soaks the cambelt, the bill can be £4,000. Let me run the numbers plainly. A British driver following standard manufacturer schedules on a 2019 family diesel, serviced at the dealer interval cambelt never discussed, short urban commute daily reaches 85,000 miles in roughly 7 years. They spend approximately £2,600 on servicing. They followed the schedule. The DPF warning light appears at 62,000 miles. They drive on it. Full DPF replacement costs £1,600. The cambelt breaks at 83,000 miles. The repair quota is £3,800 on a car worth £5,500. They write it off. A British driver following this video's protocol, oil every 6,000 miles, cambelt at year 7, a weekly motorway run to clear the DPF, monthly tyre pressure checks, and treating warning lights as emergencies, spends approximately £4,100 on servicing over the same period. That is £1,500 more, and at 85,000 miles their engine is in genuinely good condition. The cheaper maintenance approach ended the car at 83,000 miles. The more expensive approach kept it alive. Nobody puts the total cost of ownership on the window sticker. Here is what connects all 7 habits. None of them are covered by the manufacturer's service checklist, none are flagged at the MOT, none are mentioned by the dealer service advisor, because the manufacturer's protocol does not require it. They are all things experienced independent mechanics know, and the relationship between British drivers and independent mechanics has been eroded by vehicle complexity, by industry consolidation, and by a culture that treats the dashboard warning light as the beginning of maintenance. It is not the beginning, it is the end. 7 habits. None require specialist knowledge, none require expensive equipment. All require information. Until now, that information was not free. That is not bad luck. That is the business model. If this video saved you from a costly mistake, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it before their next service is due.